Sons of Liberty were a radical group that forever changed the path of American history. Through their perseverance, hard work, and loyalty to the idea of independent America, they paved way for the American Revolution, which resulted in the independence of America.
In essence, it is fair for one to say that the current America exists thanks to the contributions set forth by the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty took a stand in history against the unfair oppression set by the British, which as a result paved the way for the independence of America. Their fight for the rights of the people eventually freed the colonists from the chains of British injustice.
The Sons of Liberty was a radical group founded by radical leaders. Although there is insufficient evidence to prove who was the original founder of the Sons of Liberty, Samuel Adams is often credited as to the person who originally founded this organization. To avoid confusion, Samuel Adams is the founder of the Massachusetts Sons of Liberty only. There were other branches of Sons of Liberty, and they were founded by different people. For example, the Sons of Liberty of New York was founded by Isaac Sears and Alexander McDougall.
The Sons of Liberty was a well-organized patriot political organization that met in secret. Although the origins and earliest founding of the Sons of Liberty is unclear, some of the earliest historical records known references the organization as existing from as early as 1765. The Sons of Liberty is made up of many like-minded patriot organizations. Examples include Boston Caucus Club and Loyal 9. Members of the Sons of Liberty were all males, and the group was well known for recruiting tavern monger, wharf rat, and other seedy characters who were looking to cause trouble. The Sons of Liberty had several branches. The Boston branch of the Sons of Liberty met under the Liberty Tree, whereas the New York branch met under the Liberty Pole.
In addition to these two examples, there were many other small branches that met in secret locations. There were many important figures that were members of the Sons of Liberty. However, a figure who distinguished himself from the others was Samuel Adams. Samuel Adams, unlike his peers, was given the hierarchical position of a leader in the group. As a leader, the decisions that Adams made greatly influenced the group. Determining the group's future and accurately depicting the group's ideals, Samuel Adams was a man that was not shy to state his opinions to the public. Rather, he was a man who actively voiced his opinions and spoke out against injustice. His fiery spirit and strong belief in justice are traits which can be found in every member of the Sons of Liberty. One of the first times that Samuel Adams stood up against injustice was during the unnoticed passing of the Sugar Act. The Sugar Act of 1764 placed a 3-cent tax on foreign refined sugar and increased taxes on a product such as coffee, indigo, and certain kinds of wine. In addition, the importation of rum and French wines were banned. The merchants were furious, and to make matters worse, the taxes were passed without the consent of the colonists. Realizing this, Samuel Adams argued with the Boston representatives and stated that the British are wrong. In his instructions to the Boston representatives, he brought up the idea of no taxation without representation, with the quote, "If taxes are laid upon us in any shape without our having a legal representation where they are laid, are we not reduced from the character of free subjects to the miserable state of tributary slaves?" From this quote, one can predict that any organization that Samuel Adams would lead will definitely fight against unfair taxation.
One reason why the Sons of Liberty was formed was to function as a backlash to the Stamp Act of 1765 passed by the British. The Stamp Act was a direct tax that required all legal and commercial documents to carry an official stamp showing that the tax was paid. Examples of items that were taxed include wills, deeds, newspapers, diplomas, licenses, receipts, and playing cards. The revenue earned from the Stamp Act was used to pay for the defense and protection of the American frontier near the Appalachian Mountains. The actual tax that came with the Stamp Act was relatively small, so why was the Stamp Act frowned upon by the colonists? Well, that is because of the standard that the Stamp Act seemed to set. Prior to the Stamp Act, the taxes and bills passed were seen as a measure to regulate commerce, but now they are utilized as a way to raise funds. The colonists perceived the Stamp Act as England's direct attempt to raise money in the colonies without the approval of the colonial legislature. The colonists believed that if the Stamp Act was successfully passed and enforced, this would set a negative precedent which would lead past to more troublesome taxation in the future. To protest the Stamp Act, they staged riots, destroyed stamps, and burned effigies. They also tarred and feathered British officials. To make matters more extreme, they destroyed Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Thomas Hutchinson's Boston home. Although violent, their protest was a symbolic event. They took a stand against injustice and also empowered the people to start thinking about the fine line between fair and unfair.
As mentioned prior, the Sons of Liberty protested in many different ways, methods ranging from staging riots to destroying the homes of a lieutenant governor were all in their books. However, in addition to these violent protests, they also took a peaceful approach to the protesting. Their method, boycotting, provided direct damage to the British economy and was not jailable, unlike their other forms of protest. The first widespread boycott was against the Townshend Act. The Townshend Act were a series of acts passed beginning in 1767 that imposed taxes on glass, lead, paints, paper, tea, and other products imported into the colonies. To protest the Townshend Act, the Boston colonists organized a non-importation agreement in 1768.
In short, the agreement stated that the colonists shall not import certain goods from Britain until the tax imposed on them was repealed. As the document states, we will not, from and after the 1st of January 1769, import into this province any paper, tea, glass, or paint or colors, until the act imposing duties on these articles shall be repealed. At first, it was only Boston, but soon New York and Philadelphia joined the boycott. Although in the end the boycott never fulfilled its original goal, this method of protest would be adopted by the Sons of Liberty for future utilization. This event preludes to future boycotts, as the Sons of Liberty understood how effective this method is and how this method was a peaceful approach to protest. The Sons of Liberty are a vital part of American history because they introduced America to different methods to stand up against injustice.
The rebellious nature of Samuel Adams and the Sons of Liberty organization is perfectly shown in the article Canada's. In Canada's, written by Samuel Adams stressed the importance of going against the petty tyrants of this country by organizing regular assemblies of the people. And in the article, passages such as, "I hope and believe that I live in a country, the people of which are too intelligent and too brave to submit to tyrants. And let me remind the greatest of them all, there is a degree of patience beyond which human nature will not bear," perfectly painted the picture of the ideals that Samuel Adams and the Sons of Liberty believed in. Both alike will not stand tyranny, and both alike believe that colonists are too intelligent to be oppressed. Perhaps the most famous accomplishment of the Sons of Liberty known to the world is the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party was a backlash to the Tea Act of 1773 passed by the British. In 1773, the British East India Company was sitting on a large stock of tea that it could not sell in England. It was on the verge of bankruptcy. In an effort to save it, the British government passed the Tea Act of 1773, which gave the company the right to export its merchandise directly to the colonies, without paying any of the regular taxes that were imposed on the colonial merchants. With these privileges, the company could undersell American merchants and monopolize the colonial tea trade. It angered influential colonial merchants, who feared being replaced and bankrupted by a powerful monopoly. This compelled members of the Sons of Liberty to disguise as Mohawk Indians and dump British tea from Boston ports. This action is the embodiment of the idea taking a stand in history, as the Sons of Liberty took a stand against an unfair act passed and dumped tea to show their resentment.
The Boston Tea Party did not trigger for no reason. As stated, the beliefs of Samuel Adams holds a huge part to the progression and ideals of the group. Shortly after the passing of the Tea Act, on November 3, 1773, Samuel Adams published an article that called for the termination of the Tea Act. In the article, he stated, "The resolutions lately come by the East India Company to send out their teas to American subjects to the payment of the duties of it being landed here is an open attempt to enforce a ministerial plan and a violent attack upon the liberties of America." In short, he viewed the Tea Act as an attack to the liberty of the people of America. Thus, resentment or protest is needed. The main spark that ignited the Boston Tea Party would be Samuel Adams' strong resentment towards the Tea Act. By actively voicing his opinions, Samuel Adams gained many support from others and allowed the Boston Tea Party to be commenced.
The Boston Tea Party, commenced by the Sons of Liberty, was the key event for the Revolutionary War. After the Boston Tea Party, the colonists decided that the only way to win disagreements with the government is through rebellion with violence. Like a snowball effect, the Boston Tea Party aided the colonists' minds to realize that they were mistreated by the British government for the first time.
It is this realization of mistreatment that laid the foundation for America's independence. Without the Sons of Liberty, independence would have been a far-fetched goal.